Hello and welcome back. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to take your images in Adobe Photoshop and convert them to black and white. And I think I'll also show you a few different black and white techniques that you can use on your images. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first and easiest way to do this is you have your image open in Adobe Photoshop. You go up to Image up at the top, down to Mode, and set the mode to grayscale. It'll ask you if you want to discard the color information, and if you click discard, your image will turn to black and white. And you do have a black and white image now. What I'd do at this point is probably add a curves adjustment layer, and let me not get ahead of myself. I'd go to my layers panel, and I'd go down to the bottom here and select this middle button, which is your adjustment layer button. And I'd go up to curves, and I'd add a curves adjustment layer. And what you can see is that actually added that curves adjustment layer there. Your options up here, what I'll do is click once in the middle, once in between the middle and the top, and once in between the middle and the bottom. And I'm going to create an S-curve to kind of accentuate the highlights and the lowlights of the picture. I'll just show you what that did. Okay, and now that's looking pretty good. Not a bad way to do it if you're looking to get a kind of a quick black and white image. The reason that I don't like this is because in order to go back to the original, you're going to have to delete this curves layer, which I'll go ahead and just drag that into the trash in my layers panel. And you'll have to go to your history. Actually, you didn't. If you just go to your history, you don't need to drag that layer away because this step will get rid of all those layers you just added. You go to your history, and if you don't see it, it's you can go up to the top to Window and down to History, and that'll bring up your history palette. And you'll just click at this very top level here, and that'll bring you back to the beginning. Okay, and so that's a quick and easy way, but it's a little less forgiving than these ways that I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so we're starting over pretty much. We have this this image open up in Adobe Photoshop. The next thing that I want to do is I want to go down in my layers palette. And by the way, if your layers palette's not open, you can also go up to the top to Window and down to Layers, and it will bring up your layers palette. That should be open by default though. Okay, so what you do is you go to your layers palette, and you go to that middle button once again, and you add an adjustment layer. And this, the first way I'm going to show you is a hue and saturation adjustment layer. And what you'll do after you add that layer, as you can see, it's added a new hue and saturation adjustment layer. You're just going to take the saturation of that layer and take it all the way to the left. It says -100. And that what that does is it takes all the saturation of the color out of your image and renders it black and white. At this point, what I would do is I would add an adjustment layer, a curves adjustment layer, like I did in that previous example, and you would have the same result essentially. The thing that's kind of nice about this technique, or the next one that I'm going to show you, because it's very similar, is that you can select the mask in that hue and saturation adjustment layer, and you can take an eraser or a brush with the foreground color set to black. Either way does the same thing, and you can brush back in some of the color or erase back in some of the color in my case right now, and that's pretty cool. You can kind of use that technique for different things. You can brush back in all the red colors if you want. Okay, so, and also this is kind of the cool thing about this sort of technique is in order to get it back to that original color image, all you have to do is take this hue and saturation adjustment layer and throw it away. So I just clicked on it and drug it into the trash can in my layers palette, and now I'm back to the beginning here. Alright, this next technique is very similar, but it gives you a few more options, so I'm going to show you those. What you do is we're starting over once again. You go in your layers panel here and you click on an adjustment layer once again, and there's a black and white adjustment layer. If you click on that, you can kind of see what that does. It adds this hue and saturation adjustment layer. You have your mask, so you can do the painting back the color like we did in the last one. But like I said, there are a few more options here. It's going to stay black and white unless you can bring back some of the color like I just did. But you can add a tint if you want. You can click this tint box and it'll add kind of a sepia tint if you want. Or you can add some of these filters, and you can kind of see what each of those filters does. Each one does kind of a different thing. It'll kind of enhance what used to be the green colors or the red colors or the blacks and the whites, that sort of thing. There's also these sliders here you can play with to kind of enhance different colors, or what used to be colors, throughout your image. So there's a lot more options with that. And I'll go ahead and just delete that. The last thing that I want to show you, it's not exactly a black and white option, but it kind of is because, and let me just show you. What I want to show you is we're back at the beginning here. We have our background layer, our image open, and we'll click an adjustment layer once again, and we're going to do that hue and saturation adjustment layer that we did earlier. As you can see, there's this drop down up at the top, and there's actually a couple drop downs, and you can play with some of these. There's a sepia drop down. You can see that converts it immediately to sepia, or a cyan O-type is what they call it, drop down, and it makes it kind of blue. You can increase saturation. There's a few different options. I'm not going to go through them all. So in any case, I'm going to leave this top one to default right now. And I want to go down to this one that says master and click on that. And you'll see, I think what I'll do is I'll leave the reds the way that they are. So I'll select the yellows below the reds. And what I'll do is I'll make the saturation negative 100 on the yellows. And I'll click on my master again. I'll go to my greens. And I'll take it down to a negative 100 saturation on my greens. And I'm just going to keep doing that for all the colors except for that red color. And we'll see what we get. And as you can see, all the colors other than the red color, actually right now it's kind of interesting. The background's turned pretty much black and white. Some of the colors in the shirts have disappeared. And if I just keep doing that all the way down the list, pretty much what you end up with is only the red colors. So you can see some of the peaches and the browns kind of come through, but mostly it's these reddish colors that stay, and everything else is black and white. Let me just real quick do the green colors the same way that I just did the reds. And what you might want to do is bump up the saturation in the one color that you do. Okay, so what I'm doing there is I'm going to bump down the reds and I'm going to switch it to the greens so that you can kind of see. Of course, maybe there's no greens in this image. There's a few on the pants. Well, you can kind of get an idea for what that does, and you can mess around with it certainly yourself in your own images. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. I hope you learned something. There, the blue's a little bit nicer. And you can mess around with the saturation all you want. Okay, so I hope you learned something from this tutorial. I certainly enjoyed sharing it with you. Please follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, and if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button on YouTube. And feel free to watch my other videos if you please. And thanks again.